he goes, do you want to try our tequila-soaked grapes? And I was like, I've never said yes faster in my life to anything. I was like, yes. I'm sorry. What happened? I blacked out.
Brandy, you're back.
I'm back.
Every time we got your crazy soda again, which is as good as any mixed drink I've ever had, by the way.
And it's non-alcoholic.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's
Here's
bomb.
to you, girl.
Cheers. Thank you.
Now, today, our food from Spitfire. I'm very excited. Lead us through it.
Tacos and tequila. So the amazing Spitfire, for those in our area that don't know, they are opening their rooftop bar and lounge on Cinco de Mayo weekend. So for I'm going to pull up the dates because I don't want to be that person. And
Isn't it Cinco de Mayo?
I mean, okay, hold on. They have like a full weekend party though. So on May 3rd on Friday, they are going to have rooftop opening party, happy hour lunch. So they're launching a full happy hour menu.
Nice.
So they're going to have some of their favorite things in half portions so you can pick and choose and do more funsies. But they're also going to have things you can only get during happy hour.
Oh,
makes
nice.
my heart super excited. And I believe these tacos are the ones that you can only get during their happy hour because these are specifically like, because originally they're whole incorporations from San Diego.
Keep talking. I can't.
Please, yes. Okay, I'm so excited for the onions on there. So they're gonna have they're gonna launch the rooftop on Friday. They're gonna have tons of fun stuff. Satellite bar, Michelada. Yeah, I'm gonna butcher that. Michelada bar, tequila tasting, live music. Then Saturday there's a pepper eating contest. I'm so excited. I want to go. I'm like
ghost peppers?
I don't know. That's what it sounds like. They're going to have a DJ and games and tequila tasting. And then they're on Sunday on Cinco de Mayo. They're going to have a full-on mariachi band.
God,
like they're launching everything.
it.
So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's going to be a weekend party at Spitfire. If you are not there, you are square.
Did I tell you why don't you start eating?
Yeah,
Did I tell you that my Halloween costume next year is going to be a mariachi? I didn't tell you this. Okay, so here's the deal.
You didn't, because I would have remembered you in a mariachi costume.
So I actually play trumpet, and I'm getting my trumpet tuned up at Dunkley Music. Shout out Dunkley Music.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I have my silver Yamaha from when I got it when I was in like 7th grade or something, and I kept it all the way through my time playing trumpet and the rest of middle school and then all through high school, and I was in jazz band and stuff. So what I'm going to do for Halloween, I'm very excited. I'm not going to grow a gut, but I might get an actual mustache going because I can grow a mustache in like 5 minutes because I'm Mexican.
You get 5 o'clock shadow at 1.
Oh my God. No, I got it last night. Like it comes in so fast. Like you can't. Anyway, so I'm going to do the mustache and then get a giant sombrero and then just stuff a pillow in my shirt. And then I'm going to actually practice once my trumpet is done, like legit practice for about 4 or 5 months so I can bang out actual mariachi music.
Shut up.
Yeah.
You're hired.
And then try to get my kids to dress up like tiny mariachis and have like tambourines and stuff. The cowbell, more cowbell. Yeah, the nachos are really good.
Dude.
Get the hell out of here.
Okay, the nachos are bomb. And there's queso. There's queso. And it's not loose queso. I'm weird about loose queso. It just feels like you're putting water on a chip versus having like a nice thick queso where it like scoops.
Yeah.
I have a preference, obviously.
It's a texture thing. It's a texture and a function thing because like the watery stuff is just so pathetic and it just runs all over your fingers.
You just drink it.
Yeah.
That point.
No, this is really good. God bless it. So, I've been, what?
Oh no, I can jump trains afterwards. Go ahead. You go first.
Eat a taco. I have been thinking, and I was talking to you about some of my endeavors before. I have just been thinking about how just insanely difficult the trials of entrepreneurship are recently.
Right.
I was listening to Dr. Phil. In my defense, he was on Rogan. So I did not.
So you had a reason.
I did not seek out Dr. Phil. Okay. I'm not like, oh my God, let's watch the reruns. But I was,
bomb.
Listen, he's got some good points. He's got that Southern wisdom that I have an appreciation for. And they were talking about, quite unfortunately, they were talking about the poor and failed policies that led to like 70% of the restaurants in like LA closing down and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's just, it was killing me because like we're out of that situation. But again, as we were talking about last week, Rembrandt's, right? Like how did that thing, we were talking about Rembrandt and how just hard it was. and how now they're getting their street torn up and all this stuff. Like, what was the response from that video we put out?
Everybody loved it.
God bless
There
it.
were so many people that were commenting going, hey, we need to go get brunch. Let's go get this. Let's go get that. This is my favorite on the menu. So the fact that there was such a wonderful response
That's awesome.
of people of support, everybody loved it. Which
They
we love.
deserve. MTU Studios is the proud producer for the Ada County Sheriff Podcast, the Idaho Wildlife Federation Podcast, the State Representative Ted Hill Podcast, the Idaho State PTA Podcast, and many more. If you or your organization is thinking about starting a podcast, MTU Studios would love to help. Just check out mtustudios.com.
Them.
Man,
Oh.
I love Rembrandt's. The loaded hash, I just can't get away from it. I usually do the loaded hash with
Okay,
an
now I
extra
need to
egg.
try their loaded hash.
Have you never tried it?
No.
Oh my God. Okay, so oh my God, it's so good. They have, I think, like a couple different types of cheese on, oh, watch out, on hash with sausage and eggs on top. And I always like, for me, breakfast food is more of a vessel to get hot sauce in my mouth because I feel bad actually just like drinking.
You don't want to chug Cholula?
I don't, but like Tabasco and eggs. All right.
It has to be the green Tabasco.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
My favorite, before I cut eggs out, my favorite was that green Tabasco with like a good Swiss cheese on my omelet. Ugh.
So my dad flew helicopters in Vietnam and then was in the Army Reserve and then was in the National Guard. Okay. And he would from time to time bring home MREs, those meals ready to eat, the black bags. And they all had the little bottle of Tabasco in them. Tiny little bottle, which I thought was so cool when I was like a little kid. I'm like, look at this tiny little, like you like miniature things, like, I'm not into dollhouses, but like, like miniature things.
Why would that be the thing, Matt? You're like, Brandy looks like she's into dollhouses.
No. I was just thinking that like, what else is miniature when you're a kid that Brandy might understand? And I just said dollhouse. I don't know.
Polly Pockets.
Okay, I don't even know what a Polly Pocket is.
That makes me sad for you.
Yeah, well, I'm not a good person. The point is that, I had those bottles and I always thought it was terrible. I was like, this is the worst. How could anybody like this? And my dad had a friend who was an Army Ranger, this guy Clyde. And I always looked up to Clyde because Clyde was like a man's man from Texas. And I was like, awesome. And he would make eggs to hang out. And like if my parents got divorced and my dad lived with Clyde and his wife June for some time. Okay. Just, as we were transitioning, because it was like they split up and he's like, all right, well, I need somebody to stay for a couple months before I get my own place. And so anyway, so we go over to Clyde and June's house on the weekend, which was awesome. I loved they had these cats. I'm like, this is when I decided I was not a cat person because I love animals. And like, I would spend so much time like befriending these cats. Like I would be gentle with them. I wouldn't like jump on them. Totally. They're like, oh, it's fine, man. It's fine, man. And then they just scratch me. I'm like, you could have warned me. Like,
I was so nice to
you. You were purring half a second ago. I didn't do anyway. So Clyde would make me eggs sometimes and he would always like douse them with Tabasco. And, obviously, I wanted to be like Clyde. So I doused my eggs with Tabasco. I'm like 10. No, I was like 8 or 9. And I eat them and I take a bite and Clyde would be like, give me this thumbs up. And I'd be like, oh.
Yeah, you're like,
I want to get a hold of Clyde. He and my dad had a falling out later, but no, it's fine. It's fine. But I really want to find him and be like, Clyde, when I was 8, I would lie about liking Tabasco. And now as a man, because I wanted your approval. And I just want you to know now I actually do like it. And in fact,
it's such a weird conversation.
Yeah, I know. Which is why I haven't done it. Right. Like, wait, who's calling?
Hello? I'm sorry. Matt, the last time I saw you, you were 10 years old. You want to tell me
it was like literally last time I saw him, I was like 18. Yeah. He's a good guy. Look, people have falling outs.
I mean, like 10, 18. It's like the same thing at this point, right?
Yeah. What's a decade between friends? Yeah. But it is funny how that was this thing from my childhood that was kind of like the definition of being like a man, being able to eat eggs and Tabasco and actually like it. Because I faked it. Just like the first time I had beer, I was like, this is the devil's work. But I was like, oh, beer's great. It was like, it's the devil.
Like pee.
Oh, it's the worst.
But here's the thing. I feel like when you're first tasting beer, you don't know what you're expecting. You don't understand it. You don't know how to pair it. So you don't like, you don't
Coors Light. You pair Coors Light with another Coors Light. You don't pair anything.
No,
you pair it with Bad Decisions and Sunshine. That's what you pair it with.
Like, okay, you're not gonna, you know what? Rude. You are not going to have Japanese beer and tacos. You're going to have Japanese beer and you're going to want a sushi roll, or you're going to want sake, or you're going to want like.
I think you grossly overestimate my inclination towards pairing beer and good cuisine.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so
if I get a Sapporo, I'm not like, oh, I need some sashimi.
Okay, so this is where we need to bring in Sockeye Brewing. We need to have like, they need to give us a flight to taste or something, or like we need to figure out, like they need to educate us on beer, because
I'm down.
I say us because I am not the most educated on the beer sake.
Oh yeah,
but I feel like I could see why people get into it.
Could we get an actual brewery in here and like have a conversation with the brewmaster and then get like, because I can't drink the beer because I'm gluten free, but I'll like do the spittoon thing.
I thought you said if you did that, your whole face would swell up.
You know what?
Your ears get itchy.
If I swallow it, I've never tried to have like swish beer around in my mouth.
But they also have like ciders. Like there's certain, I'm sure
those
Powder
aren't fit
House
for swine. They're not fit. The ciders are the worst. Ciders are the worst.
No.
Ciders
We can't.
are the
No,
worst.
we're not. You know what? I'm gonna have to make a cider because I feel like you might trust me now, just a tiny bit with fermentation. And like, no,
Okay.
really?
Keep eating a taco.
Okay.
So,
you need to try one of these.
Okay.
This is insane.
Keep going with sockeye.
You missed the entire like eye roll back that I did from this taco. It was amazing. Seriously, Spitfire, thank you. This is like.
This looks really good.
Oh, this is the best street taco I've had this side of California in a really long time.
They're from San Diego, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, they're bringing the southern border.
They're bringing like the zesty flavors and the combination. So where you're not just palating like a spicy taco that like has half decent meat, you're actually getting quality like enhancements in your bites. This is why these nachos are insane in the membrane, man.
Oh my gosh, that's really good.
Right? Oh, thank you.
So I spent spring break my sophomore year in Rosarita because I was injured. I hurt my back kayaking, so I couldn't keep rowing for about a year. So I was like, oh my gosh, I get a spring break. This is great. My dad happened to be going down to San Diego to do a medical training thing. So he's like, hey, I'll be down there during your spring break. If you want to come down, like bring a friend. I have a bunch of hotel rooms because he took a bunch of his medical stuff.
Okay.
So I got it down. I was like, yeah, sure. And then we're like, hey, there are these girls we know from school that are going to Rosarita. Like, they have extra room in their car. Like, we should just jump in the car with them. And they're like, great. So we get to Rosarita, and we think it's going to be awesome. It's like, because we're not dating these girls and not interested in them, but we're hanging out with them. And no joke, we get to Rosarita, and the girls are like, see you later, boys. We're like, wait, Lily, I thought we were going to, she's like, get the fuck out. So we got like booted out of the car. They went off. They're like, we have no interest in pulling you around. And it's like, we weren't hitting on them or like, I wasn't interested in any of them. But they're like, we have our own things we're going to do. Get out of here.
We don't want to babysit you.
Right. And I was like, oh no. Oh, what are we going to do? And I shit you not, literally like 2 minutes later, we see one of our other friends, Jason Zellner or something from campus. We're like, Jason? He's like, oh, hey guys, what's going on? We're like, hey, where are you staying? They're like, oh, we're in this big high rise right here. Come check it out. And we like go up and like, hey, could we like extend for a day and stay with you? Like, oh yeah, no problem. Look, let's get the landlord dude. He's right. So like we ended up staying. It was so wild, man. So we like totally just couch surfed for several days. It was a train wreck. But this reminds me of walking home from the discoteca at like 2 a.m. Not a good idea. But literally when I took the bite, I'm like, oh, I stopped by the taco guy in Rosarita at 2 a.m. and got a couple tacos. This tastes exactly like it. Like there's something in the onion. I don't even like cilantro. This tastes really good.
I know you don't, which
I
is
have
why.
That soap thing. Like it tastes like, but this tastes really good.
I
Is
love
this
the
like a different onion or something?
I don't know. Maybe. I'll ask them if they use different onions.
Well, there are a lot of different types of onion. Oh, come on. God damn it. You got okay. Remember the check stand joke? Come on now.
For the record, they used to write checks there. Thank you. My grandma did until a couple of years ago, I'm sure, because everybody in that generation wrote checks until
I think
like last
Winco
year.
takes checks.
They do.
Yeah, yeah.
And quite a few times. I've seen nice, cute little old ladies, so a check stand counts. God, and that is my platform that I'm going to go into Congress with.
All right, you talk while I eat.
So I think my favorite part has to be the residual heat. I haven't taken a bite of this in quite a few minutes. And even like the little bit of jalapeno and the meat itself has really good heat, but it's not overpowering to like the freshness of the cilantro and the onion or anything like that. I love the flavor. That was the most like
gosh, this is really
thing
good.
I've ever done.
I love the flavor.
So
God bless it. Did you ever do anything crazy, like traveling to Mexico with a bunch of crazy girls when you were like 21?
I was working 3 jobs. I really didn't have time for crazy. Personally, I worked at Disney and I taught dance at 2 different dance studios, and like my life wasn't my own. And then I met my husband.
Right.
And then I was in college and like we decided to get married, and then life just kind of propelled, and then it was like, oh, you're going to have a baby too.
You're going to have a baby.
And I was like, oh, did not anticipate this happening now. And the panic hits. And then 9 months later, we have a baby and a first anniversary. So it was like bada bing, bada boom. Oh, yeah. 3 months in, we found out we were pregnant with our first son.
Wait, I thought you met your husband when you were 21.
I did.
Are you like 26? I thought.
Well, thanks.
Now that you mention it.
Now that you mentioned it. No, I met him at 21, got engaged at 22, got married at 23, had my first son at 24. You're thinking of my little guy.
Wait, so you're not even 30 yet?
I'm 33.
Oh, I am thinking of your little guy. You have an older.
I do have an
For
older
some reason,
son.
I thought you had like a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old or something.
No.
Okay. I was like,
No,
what
thank
is
you.
happening? Oh my God, my whole world.
Dear gracious. Okay, I'm going to have you
Okay.
tell me on
Yeah,
this.
yeah, I got you.
No. Yes.
By the way, your pony keg is fire.
I am totally invested in the pony cake. My husband does not think it was a good idea to buy those and ferment in them just because they build up so much pressure before you pop it.
Yeah.
I think it's building up like the perfect amount.
You know, you can get taps for these.
I heard.
Like you can get little and then
I'm
just
kind
pour.
of thinking that's our next jam.
So I have an eccentric friend by the name of Max. God bless Max.
Max and Matt, really? That sounds
Yeah.
like a Disney movie.
Yeah, we were that pair in college. Like, yeah, we were both rowers. We both came into Cal without having any rowing experience, and we were 2 of the 3 people that made it to senior year out of our entire class because rowing's really intense. So Max and I are dear friends, but he's very eccentric. So he makes his own mineral water. Like Max is the kind of guy who has to reinvent every single wheel he's ever seen and then turn some squares into wheels. It was like, Max, that's not even a thing. Like you're just making your life harder. He's like, no, this is going to be great. It's like, it's not. If you want to take something that already makes your life easy and try to improve upon that, that's fine. But you're taking something that's not even a problem and you're like making your life harder to like come up with a solution for this problem that you invented. Anyway, so he makes his own mineral water. So I go up to Seattle where he was living years back. I think it was like 5-6 years ago. And like, I was like, grinding through and I'm like, dude, I got to go see my friend Max. And, we're not big, go out and rah drink people. He was redoing his upstairs, had it all down to the studs. So I was like, why don't you let me come up for like a day or 2 and we can just frame the hell out of your upstairs. Like I'm a good carpenter.
Look at you, good friend.
Yeah. So I go up there and the whole time we're working and we get after it. Like, and I love seeing my buddy Max. It's great. So we're like working, all this stuff.
You're like Jesus.
Minus the feet washing. But yes, everything else.
Okay.
Oddly.
You like the connection that my brain immediately was like, he's like Jesus.
He's like Jesus. Yeah, anyway, so
you showed up.
I showed up and we're doing all this work and he's like, do you want some water? I was like, yeah, I'll take water. I like to stay hydrated. And he goes downstairs and goes outside and comes back. We're like, what
took
did
you
you
20
do?
minutes?
But like, what did you do outside?
Okay.
And by the way, this whole time we're eating his biltong. You know what biltong is? It's like South African homemade beef jerky that instead of flat and is like a 1/4 to 1/2 inch thick rectangular solids. Like he makes his own beef jerky.
Ground meat, yeah.
No, not ground meat. It was solid meat that he used a dehydrator. I love homemade beef jerky, by the way, but it stinks so bad. It stinks up your house for days.
Don't tell me
disgusting.
that because we're literally in the process of making beef jerky.
Okay, well, just do it in the garage or somewhere outside. Like, it's going to smell. You're running hot air over beef for days. It's going to smell.
See, the instructions did not tell me it would be for days.
Okay, well, however long you're going to do it. 24 hours, 12 hours, I don't care what you're doing. You're going to run hot air and dehydrate beef. You're going to sweat the beef. You're going to sweat the armpits of the beef out into your head. Yeah, that's, you know what? You're welcome.
I got a visual of like beef with arms.
Anyway, so he's feeding me this biltong and given me this water. I'm like, this is really good water. and it was carbonated. I'm like, Max, what is this? So we go outside and he has this pony keg. It's like, yay big. That's his mineral water that he makes himself. So he puts the minerals in. So it's like calcium and magnesium. And
well, technically speaking, when they do our water, they typically take out the 80, I think there's 87 to 89 minerals you actually need.
Sure.
So
sure.
I get it.
So Max just goes after it, right? And so I'm like smitten with this water. Like, this is the best water I've ever had in my life. Right. And I keep going downstairs, like pumping thing. I'm like, this is great. It's like a big old glasses. I'm like, oh, this is so refreshing. And we go out, we finish up the framing, we go out to dinner, and we're like having a good time. And we go out to this steak place, and I get this big old steak, and then I get the, pear bread pudding or whatever it is. I'm just stuffed myself.
Totally.
And his wife is, I think, 8 months pregnant with their third or fourth kid. Okay. They have me, and they're remodeling upstairs. So they have 3 boys. Okay. Let's say it's their fourth kid. They have 3 boys. All 3 boys are sleeping in the one room that's downstairs. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they're really close. It's not a problem. But Max and his wife are actually sleeping in like the den area. And then they have one common space outside of that because the whole upstairs is torn up. They have me sleeping in this like auxiliary guest building, which I don't care. It's like essentially like a shed, but they made it into a bedroom. I don't care.
Cool.
Doesn't matter to me. But to use the bathroom, you got to go inside. Now you have to go inside through the door and the room that they're sleeping in. Oh my gosh. Now, mind you, if you think of the creakiest door you've ever heard in your entire life, it is multiply that by like 10, and that's this door. So I don't care at all. And I'm joking. I'm like, dude, Max, this door is like, sounds like somebody's dying. He's like, yeah, I know. I got a WD-40. Anyway, so I go to bed. I'm like, oh, what a day. Like, oh, we framed some stuff. We got some great dinner. That water. Oh, no. I have like water by the side. Well, it had a lot of magnesium in it.
Oh, no.
So about midnight, I wake up. I'm like, huh, that's fun. Oh, God. That's not funny. And I realized I'm like, there's no way. There's no way you're going back to sleep. So I go inside and I have to and go into, and I lose it. I'm like, it's a scene from Dumb and Dumber. Like, literally like, so I'm losing it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. Like, I'm so mortified. And this is like my college buddy, but even this is embarrassing because like I love his wife and I don't want his wife to like see me like this. So I'm like, oh my gosh. Like half an hour later, I'm like, okay, legs, wake up. Here we go. We got to get back outside. So I hobble back outside. I'm like, this is the worst thing ever. And I fall back asleep, and I shit you not, 45 minutes later, it's like, get back up. Have to go back in again. Come back out at 4 a.m. At 4 a.m., I wake up again. I'm like, I'm just going to dig a hole in his backyard. Left? The magnesium thought there was. I was like, I'm literally just going to dig a hole in their back. Like, I can't do this, but it's Seattle and it's raining. The water table's high. I'm like, it'll stink. I can't. I go back inside.
You actually considered it like legitimately?
I was so horrified and mortified. Then I go back inside, and it's so late / early. I text my wife, and she's actually awake because now it's like 5:15, and I'm telling her, I'm like, you would not believe the night I've just had. And then I'm like, I'm just going to stay in here. And then I hear their kids waking up. So now it's like 5:30, 5:45.
Do they have one
I'm
bathroom?
here. They only have one bathroom.
No,
and I'm in it. So I like your drinks. Just don't put magnesium in it ever.
Note to self.
There you go.
No magnesium.
Yeah.
I would be so embarrassed.
Yeah. They laughed at me the whole next day.
Well, I'm sure you are now their story that they tell people when they talk about like their remodel. Like, yeah, and when our friend Matt came to help us.
Oh my God. Max is just with his pony cakes. He likes all the equipment. That's the thing. If you're gonna do little pony cakes, you gotta get the equipment.
Oh yeah.
Right. So he has a mini fridge that he drilled a hole in, and then he dropped the pony cake in so it would keep the pony cake cold. And then he had like the taps coming. Like, he had all the things.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm that invested. I feel like this. So I usually do this spring and summer because that's when we're thirsty, we're outside, we're playing, we're at the park. We want like fun, refreshing drinks. Because during the winter, you don't necessarily want a cold, chilling drink. You want a hot cocoa or what have you. So I don't know if like a 6-month investment of time per year would warrant me buying my own pony cake and like the sprayer, the whole thing. I feel like I would get mocked for that.
Look at what you have, though, already. You make your own crema. Like, you're obviously invested.
Okay, I love that that's the baseline of, like, you're cool, you make crema. Okay. And
You do.
I need to figure out, okay, so I need to rework my recipe for my cinnamon rolls to be gluten-free because I feel like you'll take a milk pill for
Yes,
the
I
cream
will.
cheese
Oh, yeah.
thing and then you'll be golden.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
If you give it a shot, I'll give it a
shot.
Absolutely dig into it.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing. I appreciate any attempt at the gluten-free because I don't have any alternative. So if somebody's like, I have a gluten-free cinnamon roll, it's marginally cardboard. I'm like, sounds delicious.
Our favorite was always Trader Joe's. Have you had Trader Joe's waffles?
Yes.
They have gluten-free waffles.
Yes, I had them in my classroom.
Okay.
I had them in this refrigerator. In fact, I had a circa 1950 like nuclear age refrigerator that was red in my classroom, and the top I'd always have frozen waffles.
That is my dream fridge, by the way.
I have one out here. I
know
got the
you
identical fridge. Yeah,
I know you do.
They're great.
Like, I love the old fridges because of their versatility. They have a spot for everything.
They do. Those doors are on like real hinges,
Yes.
and you can put gallons of milk
Yep.
and all kinds of things. Yeah.
It doesn't break the little puny
No.
thing in like 6 months
Yeah.
off. Yeah.
Yeah,
Drives
and
me
you can
bananas.
replace those pieces.
Yeah.
Like we talked about. Like they used to make things so that you could like they're
Quality.
like, oh, all you need is a 1/4-inch copper pipe or 1/8-inch copper pipe, and like you can replace this thing. It's not
Totally.
like it's not crazy. You just have to have somebody who knows how to like do it with a pipe.
Well, yeah. I told you last week, right, that I had to take out the filter from my washer. Like I had to take it out. My kid's sock was in there.
Oh, you did tell me that. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So
yeah, who knew the washing machines had filters?
Oh,
Yeah.
completely.
Right.
But that's where I'm like, the showmanship of like, yeah, this looks pretty and all. That's great. But if it's not going to do its job and I'm going to have to babysit it for the next 5 years before I replace it, I don't want any part of it.
Don't want any part.
Just not me personally.
Just not your thing.
Yeah, not my thing.
Yeah.
Not entirely.
Not my jam.
I'm going to steal some more of your nachos.
Oh my
if
God,
you're not gonna
go.
eat 'em
Go,
for
go,
the
go.
record.
I'm not gonna
The
eat
other
'em.
taco's all yours, though.
Okay, I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. I'm a giving person, really.
Is Rib Shack a member?
They're not.
It's so depressing.
Rib Shack, we want you.
We want you. I went to Rib
love
Shack
you.
yesterday.
Did you?
I went to Rib Shack and I got their burnt ends, and they're so damn good.
Are they? I've never had them.
good.
I've actually never been there. Seriously. Okay, now we got to do like
Okay,
one
you
of the dinner
love
nights.
Guru. You love Guru. I love Rib Shack. Neither of them are members. Poo poo.
You
on
know what we should do? We should take the brioche, like vegan buns from Guru and
and
put
take
burnt
them.
ends in the center.
We should actually do that.
Oh my
That
gosh.
would be incredible.
That's oh my gosh! And then I'll make like a homemade coleslaw for it.
That would be amazing.
We'll just put Eagle on the table and we'll like build Eagle into a.
Here's something
meal.
interesting. Mayor Pike actually was telling me that when he was doing in one of the interviews, he was talking about how he was trying to establish what the businesses downtown really needed. And what he said is the businesses that were west of Eagle felt like they were not part of downtown because they're like, listen,
Right.
like you have, Old State, you have, Sweet Tea Living, you have all these businesses
Right.
and we pour so much energy into them. But if you go west of Eagle Road, it's like that's the forgotten portion of downtown Eagle. And I thought that was such a bummer because obviously you
Yep.
have Hope Blooms down there and that's great. And you got the donut place right next to Hope Blooms.
Yeah.
And you have Rib Shack, which I also think is great.
Well, and
Nobody's
across
perfect.
the street is Adam Alexander Real Estate. They're a member.
Oh, awesome.
Oh yeah, and then there's the CrossFit right there. There's Idaho Youth Ranch. There's so many places over there. But we also have that sentiment though about if you are south of 44? No, Old New
South of 44. Yeah, yeah.
State.
Yeah.
Wherever the
Yeah.
new state is. The people that are south of that are southeast or southwest, because so much gets focused right here in our little town versus there. That's why we kind of call it the Four Corners, is there's so much area that Eagle encompasses. Some of those little areas, unfortunately, kind of get forgotten in all of this. So yes,
Right.
it is diverse.
Yeah.
Hugely diverse.
I think this is an Eagle. Is Boise Thai Noodle, is that in Eagle? It's right on, it's Chinden. Chinden is like the barrier between Eagle and Meridian, isn't it? Or is
Technically,
it
yeah.
not? Damn it. So it's literally right off Chinden, but south. Like you pull off of Chinden.
By Target?
Yeah, so you go to Target and you make a left
'Kay.
on Chinden. So you're heading east on Chinden. And then Boise Thai Noodle is 3 minutes up on the right. Oh my God. It's the best Thai food
Wait.
ever.
Which way are you going on Chinden?
Okay,
So if you were going south,
you're head south on
Eagle.
head south on Eagle, and Target's at your 11 o'clock, right?
Okay.
So you make a left on Chinden,
Okay.
head 3 minutes up the road, and then you turn right, and it's right in there. Boise Thai Noodle. Shout out Boise Thai
That
Noodle.
might actually be Garden City.
God, the cities and boundaries around
Isn't
here
it
kind of
crazy?
get me.
Well,
yeah.
you're actually where you're at, Dry
I'm
Creek Ranch.
unincorporated.
It was sold though initially as Eagle.
Mm.
My in-laws bought some of the first plots that were being done.
And they were telling people it was going to be Eagle?
On the paperwork, it said Eagle. And then it actually, when they closed on the house, it was Boise. And then it became Garden City.
Well, no, we have a Garden City mailing address, but we're unincorporated
Yeah.
Ada County, but they call it. Okay, so for voting, I think it's Boise.
It's so complicated.
For voting, I think it's Boise. I think for the mailing address, it's Garden City. Like, it's complex. I'm having our state rep, Chris Mathias, is actually coming in. He's a legislator. He's coming in this weekend. I think we're District 19. So he's coming in. He's cool. I'm very excited to chat with him about different things. He was in the Coast Guard and,
Cool.
Really, really intelligent guy. He's on the education committee as well. And I've heard him speak several times. Pretty educated dude. Yeah. So it's interesting how we're hacked up here, and especially Eagle now, like explaining to people how we got to be like a horse shape, or like with like a tie-in, like gooseneck going up.
Oh, yeah, to Avamore.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, shout out Spring Creek Brewing. If you guys are in Avamore and haven't been there, they're amazing.
Super good.
And they opened up their patio officially.
Oh, nice.
It's patio weather.
Yeah.
We'll have to go sit on the patio and have a burger.
They had a super cool bartender. So the chamber had an event right after
The
we
business
did our
after hours. Yeah.
We went up there. They gave us our free tickets, and I was like, "Oh, I just want a Diet Coke." And the dude was super cool. Like, the guy was really nice.
Good.
And he was this big guy.
Yeah.
Super friendly. I wasn't even drinking. I was like, "Can I just get a Diet Coke?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I got to go to the other side of the restaurant to get. I'll be right back." I was like, "Oh, well, I could." And he just disappeared, and then a couple minutes later came back. He's like, "Here you go, bud."
Yeah.
Super nice guy.
good.
Yeah.
It looked like a really fun event. I didn't get a chance to be
I
at
know.
that
Where
one.
were you?
I had a cough.
You had a cough.
Well, that was also the week that everybody was just getting well. And then so one kid got sick, another kid got sick, and then they got me sick. So I was on that tail end of all that fun.
I feel like we get more sick here than we did before. But I think one of the problems is that before we were like locked down for 2 years, so couldn't really see or do anything. And then we move up here and now we're like catching up to all the viruses.
But I was here while we had all that. It was a very interesting experience because we had just announced that we were pregnant, literally like right before the lockdown. And we were like, funsies, we're going to have a baby in all of this. And it was crazy because originally we weren't even sure if my husband was going to be able to be in the room.
Oh my!
I labored in a mask. If I walked out of my room, I had to wear a mask. They were respectful of me. They allowed me to take it off in the room and all of that jazz. But there was a lot that came along with this. And our parents couldn't come to the hospital to meet the baby. Like, nobody.
That's terrible.
It was
Brandy.
insane. It was so crazy. But you know what?
What?
I don't know. What?
I don't know.
It was, I think it was.
You're like profound statement.
No, I'm thinking through
you had your
the
kid,
way
that's
everybody got to meet him was so different. Like, I had probably 10 people in my room after I gave birth to our first son. I had my mom, my stepdad, my dad, my now stepmom. I had, was she there? She may have been there. She may have to go to work. And then we had our friends John and Jen and my friend Catherine and my brother and my sister that we snuck her in because she was still so little at the time. She was 6 when he was born. So like we had 10 people. Oh, and then did I say my in-laws and my in-laws, my father-in-law and my mother-in-law. So we had like 12 people meet him within like this short time span of him being born and announced that he was a boy and all of this fun stuff. So when second little guy was born, everybody met him in such an intimate capacity. Like it was a one-on-one time. They came over or my in-laws were there. My husband let them go so that way he could have a little time with our older son. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. All of that like sour cream
Yeah, right.
and jalapeno. And it was just so neat. Everybody got such a different bonding experience. So I think there's like good that came out of it. And also as like the mom, I got to rest a little bit differently than I did when everybody, you know, immediately comes in and wants to see your brand new baby. And you're still like, I survived that. Like I'm still alive. Didn't think that was going to happen.
Especially with the first one. Right?
Oh.
Like, and not that I've ever been in labor. Like I'm not trying to usurp your experience or anything.
No, it was bananas because like my husband had to watch me go through all of this. Like, you had to watch your wife go through all of this. And as a support person, like, that's tough.
Right.
It was also tough having a little Filipino nurse yell at me. And like,
why was she yelling at you?
She was yelling at me because I was at the cusp of 24 hours. I was about to have a C-section because my water had broken, and he's not coming. And the Pitocin didn't work. My epidural didn't work. And so all of these things are happening, and it's not progressing. And the contractions are on top of each other. And I'm just like, I'm ready to quit. Entirely ready to quit. It's been 32 hours. I'm done. I'm tapped. Like, I just want to go home now. I don't want to do this baby thing anymore. Like, just let me go home. Stop the pain. Get me out of here. And then she was like, you're going to do this. This is not going to be pleasant. And she's like coaching me through this and helping me get like prepared, because like, we have to do this now. If we don't do this now, you're going to go and get a C-section. And she was so mean to me, but I needed somebody to just take direction and force. And I was like, okay, we're doing this. And it shipped me into shape. And within like 3 pushes, I had a baby. And it was like insane. But it was, I remember her getting me. And I feel like when you're in the trenches and you have that person that gets you through something, you're like, wow, that's a core memory. That's ingrained in who I am now. And now I'm like, oh, I'm going to be tough love for everybody. Can I tell you a quick story?
You can tell me anything. I so appreciate
I don't know
the
her name.
recollection of that story.
I don't know her name, but I think of her like once every 6 months. She holds like a spot in my brain.
And again, I want to hear your story. I think there's just such a lack of people with the ability to look at somebody in a tough spot and be like, this is going to suck, but you're coming with me. And just having that relationship and trust with people is what I did with my students. And it's what I did, as a coach, and like all these different things. Like, this is going to be hard. That's the point. And you're coming with me.
And you're going to get through it.
Here we go. And you're going to get through it. Like, hold my hand.
Grin and bear it.
Here we go.
It's going to be tough. You're going to cry.
Yeah, right. Right. But there's this, I feel like we're robbing people of their human experience of coming through these things.
Oh, absolutely.
Of like realizing like, oh, I can see somebody who looks me in the face and says, this is going to be hell. Here we go. Tell me your story, because I have funny things.
No, it's okay. So we talked about, I had a traumatic brain injury from the car accident I was in, right? Really tough 2 full years. Like, it took everything to get my life back, kind of thing. And even now, like, still picking up pieces of that. I was just connected with a gal who 6 months ago got in a car accident and is going through the same thing I went through. And I got this neat moment where it was like, thank you, God. Like, I get to be a light for her when she is feeling so distraught and so frustrated and just like out of options and doesn't know what else to do and feels like she's going crazy, because it totally felt like that. And it was this like, I didn't go through this for nothing. I did not suffer for this long to not help somebody else at the end of this. And it was just this like moment of this weird weight lifted off of my shoulders that I think I've carried. Like, why did this happen to me? Why am I going through this? This is so hard. And like, woe is me, like playing the pity party game. But like, it was such a cool moment. And I think of that lady. I reminded the like girl, I'm like, this is not easy. And you're going to feel crazy every day. And it's okay that you feel crazy. But at the end of the day, you have 2 little kids that are looking up to you, and you're going to get through this because it's hard, but you're going to be okay. And like trying to give her that inspiration, because I've been there and I know what it feels like. And it just, I think of that little lady, and you know what? She inspires me, because being a light for anybody else in the world just makes this whole living experience 1000% more worthwhile.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Mic drop on that one? I don't know.
Listen, this is a really, I've been thinking a lot about the work that I'm going to do, that I've been doing with youth and helping them navigate the difficulty and injustice of the tech world that they're born into.
Yep.
Right? Because like, we were born into a certain tech world, and like, we evolved in a certain tech world, and that tech world didn't make us terrible people or engage us in horrible actions. But the world they're in now does too. And there's an aspect of kind of like, look, I'm sorry. I really am sorry that this is the world you're growing up in. Like, I'm sorry that you have people coming after you from other countries. I'm sorry that you have classmates coming after you. I'm sorry that you feel like if you're not engaging in, exchanging inappropriate photos that you're like left out. Like, I am sorry because I recognize that I'm part of the problem because I helped create the world you're now living in.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I had a Facebook account. I, had a computer. I participated on the internet. I did all of these things. I didn't know that's where we were going.
Right.
Nobody knew. And like, I'm sorry, and this is gonna suck, but there's only one way out of this.
Mm-hmm.
Because the bottom line is, especially with young people, it's like, look, if you want, in spite of all the warnings we can give young people, if you want to become a raging alcoholic, you're gonna find a way. That's it. If you want to be a drug addict, you're gonna find a way. If you want to turn into a predator off your cell phone or your laptops or whatever, you're gonna find a way, right? But for the rest of you that find yourself in this bad situation and you don't want to turn into that, this is going to be hard, but you can do it.
Yeah.
But we've gotten away from presenting young people with the idea of like, this is hard, but like, let me make this easier for you. That's what we all do. That's the whole nature of the snowplow parent. Like, we had the helicopter parent, which was making sure that the kid, helicopter parent, the nature of that is the kid can't systematize and structure himself sufficiently. So I have to keep these guardrails and keep him going forward. So you hover over him, like, do that homework, do this, do this. The snowplow is not, let me make sure you're structured appropriately. The snowplow is, let me plow the world in front of you so it's easier. And we've removed that responsibility to confront the difficulty of your endeavor.
Yep.
Where it's like, yeah, this is hard. It's hard for everyone. Like, starting a restaurant is hard. Starting a business is hard. Mm-hmm. There is nothing we can do to make this better. There's nothing we can do to make this feel better or easier or more successful. It's terrible. And most of you will fail. Almost all of you will fail.
The entrepreneurial journey.
That's like, you shave your kids' heads?
I
Little
do.
buzz them? Yeah.
I do.
What kind of clippers you use? You use the wall clippers?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Did you know wall has been around for over 100 years? Mm-hmm. Did I tell you about this?
We had this conversation. Yeah.
I'm so smitten by that. It's like, how? How did you make something that people have cared about for 100 years? Mm-hmm. So no matter what business I come up with, no matter what I do, it's like, there's going to come an expiration date. It already happened to me. It already happened. The SAT was around for like 100 years. I was the peak of my SAT tutoring capacity. The world changed. The SAT became irrelevant. Done. It didn't matter what I was doing. It didn't matter how successful I was. It didn't matter that I had hundreds and hundreds of kids walking around campuses wearing Matt Todd University stuff, super excited to come to SAT class of all places. None of that mattered. My business was now irrelevant. Just like all the people that used to train horses in New York City.
Yep.
Just like all the people that build buggy whips, right? Like, the world changes. And there's nothing that's going to make that easier for an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And I feel like at the heart of that is having another generation that's going to be able to confront that chaos and insanity and disappointment.
But if you're snow plowing for them, they're never going to get to that point to figure that out.
This isn't fair. It's too hard. No. It's not too hard. It's just hard. It's hard, and it's not supposed to be attainable by the majority of you.
Correct.
Right? It's supposed to be attainable by like 2 of you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just too hard.
Yeah. Okay, so I forgot to tell you, Spitfire is doing a giveaway. So we're partnering with them kind of like we did Rembrandt's last
Hell
week.
yes.
I know. So we're actually going to pick 2 winners.
God
we have
America.
one winner will get $30 in gift cards for Spitfire, hoping to bring you guys in for, Cinco de Mayo, something fun. Go try their new menu. Like, this happy hour menu is divine.
I have not tried their margaritas. Have you tried their margaritas?
Heavenly.
They
Heavenly margaritas. I love.
need margs to go.
I didn't. Thank you. Okay,
They need
before I
margs to go.
seriously, because before I left, shout out to their team, their staff. They are amazing. The gentleman that was getting all of this stuff arranged, he goes, "Do you want to try our tequila soaked grapes?" And I was like, I've never said yes faster in my life to anything. I was like, yes. I'm sorry. What happened? I blacked out. And so he brings me out these tequila soaked green grapes, and they have been partially frozen to keep the tequila in, so that way they're not just leaking. And then they rolled them in chamoy, and I think I did an additional seasoning, but they were like super, like, not overly sweet, but they were like crisp and fresh. And it was almost like getting a blended margarita without overly being sweet.
And you ate them all, didn't
Oh,
you?
I did,
You didn't
absolutely.
give a shit about
No,
Matt.
I'm sorry,
you
Matt.
ate them
They
all.
were going to soak out tequila. That's why they're partially frozen, Matt.
You could have got some ice cubes to store them in.
Maybe.
Yeah. God, that sounds good.
They were divine. So they're going to
I've
launch
never heard
that.
of that. There's like the
Neither did
vodka
I.
watermelon.
I literally want to call my mom and be like, Mom, we've missed out on this for years. Seriously. How much more fun?
Can I tell you something that's really
Yes.
funny? Okay, so I did a bunch of property maintenance stuff and management in California, and I still do it up here. And I'm not a realtor. I'm just in the real estate world.
Okay.
But the friend of mine is like, hey, my daughter's going to Boise State. I would really love it if you could manage, because we, sold the property down here. We got her a place to stay in, and then we actually got a couple more. This was a couple years back. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll help you manage them. No problem. They're like, awesome. So I go and I go to this one place on Colorado, right? And they have the backyard garage where, you actually leave the townhouse and then in the back, there's like a separate building. I go in the separate building just, because I'm inventorying. I'm like, oh, there's a refrigerator out here. And I open the refrigerator. It has like the tall boy Coors Light and then a giant box of holiday Jello shots. And I was like, it's June.
They were on clearance at Albertsons.
They literally had Jello shots that were like candy cane and pumpkin pie.
I didn't know they made those.
So I was like, I can't throw these away. So I take the container, I take it home. This was a couple years ago. I put it in my fridge, and later that night, we were doing a fire pit. I used to hang out with these guys on the street, and I take them out. I'm like, guys, check this black Glad bag of Jello shots out, because of course it was in like a Glad bag.
Yeah, of course.
Trash bag, right? College style.
Come on.
And we take them out and we try them. We're like, this is the most vile thing ever. Give me one more. Like, they were so terrible.
I think the only
so
time I've
bad.
ever had a Jello shot was I was probably 21, living in Los Alamitos. I think it was at a Halloween party. That is the only time I can think of, because every other time, like the thought of that makes me cringe.
It's like, what is it about a Jello shot that people are like, I know, let's make drinking like so fun and awesome and like Bill Cosby, like JELLO.
No.
Like it's so bad. And people would just down them like, oh my God, we got Jello shots. Like, can you just make yourself a drink? Like, it's like, no, Jello shots. Like, I understand you said it the first time. I'm just wondering why you can't make yourself just a drink and drink like, no, let's lick out of this little, and just,
The
it's
thought
so
of
great.
like somebody licking it out of it makes me want to vomit.
Have you ever seen Four Christmases with Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon? It's such a funny movie.
Probably.
So Vince Vaughn, they end up going to, they hate their families. Both of their families are divorced and remarried, except Vince Vaughn's dad. Anyway, so they end up going to all of these different Christmases because Vince Vaughn has 2 Christmases. He has to go to mom and dad, and they have to go to Reese Witherspoon's mom and dad. And they get to Vince Vaughn's dad's house, and his brothers are there, and they're like ridiculous, right? And crazy. And they start beating him up. And he's supposed to be like a 40-year-old attorney, but it's Vince Vaughn, right?
Yeah.
And Reese Witherspoon's trying to talk to one of the brothers' wives who's like pregnant, got this baby. She's like, cheese with cracker, right? Comes over and she's like, we got beer mosas in the fridge. It's like,
I feel
the
like I would
beer
remember
mosa.
this.
Yeah, like Jello shot style. It's really funny. You should check it out.
I know what I'm
Christmases.
doing this weekend.
Yeah, it's a really good movie, actually. We watch it. We obviously watch it Christmas time, but we watch it throughout the year.
Oh,
It's one of those classics.
I love that. I'm
Yeah.
so excited.
Yeah.
Now I have to add that we have tomorrow is the opening of Sid's Garage. Well, not the opening. It's their soft opening.
Wait, is this one of the places that you said had a good burger but wasn't an
Yes.
Eagle?
Yes. I know.
Okay.
I know.
Okay. Explain what's going on. This is in Star, right?
No. So
Okay.
their newest location is going to be off of Barber Street.
Where's Barber Street?
It's off of the Green Belt in Boise.
In Boise.
Yes.
Everywhere but Eagle.
sorry.
Okay.
I know.
Okay. Anyway.
I got the courtesy of being invited because it was one of my very close friends.
I'll tell you why you got the courtesy of being invited. It's the same reason they gave you the gluten-free brioche donut thing
No,
at Yes.
That's not how it works. It's
Yes.
one of
I
my
just
best
wanna
friends
know-
owns it. That's why.
I just want to know how many people, how many businesses take advantage of Brandy on a weekly basis. They're like, Brandy, we would love it if you came. Oh, like you guys want to become a member? You want me to like come and tell you? No, just come. And like, by the way, bring your phone. Selfie.
Rude. Not even. I am a very likable human being who may or may not have friends who invite her to things.
You know what you're like? I'll tell you what you're like. You're like the first kid in the high school to get their license, and you can drive everyone everywhere. And so you instantaneously start getting invited to like the cool kids hangouts because you got to go get Sharon. And you're the,
Why is
like,
her name Sharon?
I don't know, but they're like, Brandy, what are you doing this weekend? You're like, oh, nothing. I'm not. Are you doing? They're like, yes, Brandy.
That is
We're doing something.
Even.
Can you please just pick up Sharon along the way? She lives close to you. And be like, oh, wait, Sharon that lives like 10 miles that way? They're like, yes, 10 miles that way. They're like, that's like 20. So they're like, can you get Sharon or not, Brandy? You're like, oh yeah, I'll get her. No problem. And you end up spending like an hour round trip taking dumb-faced Sharon to and from the party. That's what you're like.
No, because
these businesses are making you go pick up Sharon and bring her back.
They are not.
Sharon doesn't even like you. She doesn't talk to you in the car. She texts the whole time.
She doesn't pick up Goldschlager for her.
She puts her feet up on your dashboard and just changes the music. No, she doesn't even change the music. She puts in ear pods and then gets on her phone, and you try to turn on the radio because you're driving in silence, and she reaches over. She's like, turn that off. I'm listening to something. And you're like, okay. And then just Brandy drives down the road. That's what Guru Donut is doing to you. That's what Sid's doing to you. That's what everybody does to Brandy.
One that is both offensive to those businesses and myself. So thank you, Matt. I am not the Sharon driver. In my defense,
there is no defense.
Nicole is one of my best friends. So when she invites me to things, naturally I show up to things.
What's the last work event she invited you to?
Every opening she's ever had.
So she invites you to every opening.
Yeah.
Not just this one.
Not just this one.
You know why you get invited.
Because her kids and my kids are friends and we're friends.
Yeah.
You know why? You know what? I realized why.
I think I've made my point.
I realized why, Matt.
Why's that?
I am really fun to be around.
Oh my God.
I can't say that with a straight face. I'm sorry.
It's just a blast. That's why they invite you to work events where they're not going to be able to hang out with you. No, if you're fun to hang out with, they call you on Saturday. No, you go to somebody's grand opening. You're like, hey, looks great. Don't talk to me. I know you're busy. Awesome. Thanks for inviting me.
Have you been to a grand opening like this before?
Sid's grand opening? No.
Then you don't know how it is.
I'm going to go ahead and say if it's a grand opening, it's pretty grand.
Well,
and that means other things are going on. Listen, if you go to a wedding, do you anticipate talking to the bride very much? No. That's the same thing you're going to.
If it's your best friend, yes.
No, you don't. You're partying with the groomsmen.
What weddings have you been to and who hurt you?
God, too many people.
Too many to list.
I know.
This week.
I know that when they have like a bride and groom table and then you're on like the wedding party table and they're like waving at people like Princess Di before she, they're waving. Died. I know.
I shouldn't giggle. It's too soon. I'm sorry.
It's not too soon. I was like 12 when that happened. That's not too soon.
I had her book. Oh, I loved her.
Why did you love her?
I don't know. She just was so sweet.
She looked the part. That's why. Anna Kournikova looked the part too. I don't give a squat about her. Well, not really anyway, but. She had a hot minute for being like the cliche hot chick who was also competent. That was the thing. Anna Kournikova was not the most attractive woman in the world, but she was damn good looking for like a famous tennis player. I have such an appreciation for that. I don't know why.
I love that train jump. I don't know where the train came in the station, but I know.
Whatever. Brandy, listen, it's Thursday night. God bless you, woman. I think we're calling it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. And thank you, Spitfire, for the food. It was fantastic.
Thank you, Spitfire. Make sure to follow, Spitfire, as well as our platforms, and you're going to be entered in to win an awesome $20 gift card or $30 gift card.
God bless it. Thanks, Brandy.
Thanks.
MTU Studios is the proud producer for the Ada County Sheriff Podcast, the Idaho Wildlife Federation Podcast, the State Representative Ted Hill Podcast, the Idaho State PTA Podcast, and many more. If you or your organization is thinking about starting a podcast, MTU Studios would love to help. Just check out mtustudios.com.